Hey guys, I thought it would be super fun to tell you what I would do differently if I were to start an Etsy shop from scratch today. This is less of a step-by-step how to open an Etsy shop video and more of a what I wish I would have learned sooner and what I would do differently if I were starting today type of video. I've learned a lot through the process of becoming a top 1% seller over the past 7 years, and there's so many things that I wish I could go back to the beginning and just do sooner to find success sooner. So I want to help you from going around the mountain if you're just starting an Etsy shop and tell you what I would have liked to learn sooner, what I would do differently if I were starting today. So let's talk about number one, which is that I would have leaned into trend research sooner. I started on Etsy just by kind of creating products that I liked myself in my own personal style and not putting much thought into what actually would sell well and what was popular and in demand that others would want to buy. I sort of just created things that I liked and then threw them up hoping that they would sell, hoping that they would take off, and surprise, surprise, they didn't. I really had no clue that I could even do this kind of research, this kind of trend research to figure out what was trending, what was popular, and what people would actually buy. So I would have started the system that I go through now sooner, which is that I do trend research to figure out what the best selling items are in my niche, and I look for repeating trend elements, which are style elements. These could be like color schemes, patterns, materials, scents, fonts. I look for these repeating elements over and over again, and I do trend research to figure out what trends are currently in demand. Then I look at the best sellers that are incorporating those trends and think to myself, well, what is it still missing? What could I add to it to make it my own and to make an even better version of this product to offer the best? The best sellers that I've had over the years have come from taking this exact approach. Trend research, look at the best sellers, take inspiration from the trend elements that you see repeating over and over again in those best sellers, and then figure out what's missing that you could add to make it an even better version. I would have also spent more time and really thought a lot more about improving my craft and spending time researching how I could level it up and improve the quality of the products that I was offering. When I first started, I offered pallet wood signs that were really cute, but they weren't very sturdy, and I had only up to that point sold them in person at craft shows and fairs and things like that, which they were fine in person, but when I started shipping them out, they started falling apart. I was not building them in a way that was really sturdy and would keep them together during the shipping process. So it took me a while and some bad reviews to come to the conclusion that I really needed to figure out a better way to build these to improve the quality and make sure that they weren't going to fall apart during shipping. Once I actually started researching how to build these and how to do it well, I was able to invest in some new tools and really level up the quality, which really helped me get more 5-star reviews, improving my market score and my social proof, which just helped my products to rank faster. If I had taken the time to really dig into this from the beginning, I could have avoided some of those negative reviews and some unhappy customers. Another thing that I would do if I were starting an Etsy shop from scratch today is that I would take a data-driven approach and a research-based approach to my shop instead of just sort of piecemealing different tips and tricks that I had found. I would really dive deep into learning from a mentor or a coach, real Etsy strategy, and things I could really implement from the very beginning to start growing my shop and ranking my listings from day one. When I first started, I didn't even really know there was such a thing as Etsy strategy, and I was sort of just throwing things up on my shop and learning through trial and error. It wasn't until a year or two into my Etsy journey that I really started finding some tutorials and learning from mentors and other Etsy sellers who had walked the journey and found success and really started implementing some of their data-driven, proven strategy, which then really helped my shop to grow. If I was starting an Etsy shop today, I would do this from the very beginning and invest in learning. Learn proven, data-backed strategy that's going to take you there faster. Now, if you're interested in taking a deeper dive into Etsy strategy, I have a free masterclass that you're totally welcome to watch. It's a 60-minute masterclass, totally free, where I walk you through the 5 pillars that work to take my shop to the top 1% of Etsy shops and really moved the needle for my Etsy shop in bringing my business to 6 figures. So if you're interested in that masterclass, I go over everything from finding a profitable product to how to do trend and keyword research to using purposeful SEO and your tags and titles and description and how to optimize your listings to be discovered in the search and ranked on the first and second page of the search results. I talk about how to use professional looking photos and mock-ups for both physical and digital products. And I also share my 3-step marketing roadmap for promoting actively on social media, email marketing, and influencer marketing. These are tactics that you can use and really dig into to drive traffic to your shop from the very beginning so that you never hear those crickets again. So if you're interested in going through that masterclass, I think it would be a huge help to you. I'm going to link that in the description box below. All right, speaking of photos, there's a couple things that I would have done differently that I learned later in my Etsy journey that would have really helped me from the very beginning. Number one is learning about white balance. So if you're not familiar with white balance, you can calibrate your white balance before you take your photos to basically tell your camera what the correct colors are for the situation you're in, whether you're indoors or outdoors, and what the lighting situation is like. And you use something called a gray card. So a gray card looks like this. It's just a little simple gray card that you hold up in front of your camera. You take a picture with the camera and you set your white balance, or you calibrate your white balance according to that gray card picture. It's a quick and easy thing you can do to really level up the quality of your photos and make sure that your color temperature is accurate, so your photos don't end up appearing too blue or too orange. They're right in the middle in the accurate color temperature, and it truly makes the world of difference in your product photos. When I started using this gray card, I could not believe that I had been missing out on this for so many years. I think I only started using this like 3 or 4 years ago. So it was a few years into my Etsy journey that I learned about this and started using it, and it made so much difference, and it's so easy to learn and do. If you're using a camera, you can set it on your camera, or even if you're using something like the Lightroom mobile app, there's a custom white balance setting inside the Lightroom mobile app that you can use to set your white balance before you shoot any of your photos. Now, speaking of Lightroom mobile, that is the app that I recommend for people to use when they're taking their product photos. It's free and it's pretty easy for beginners to learn to use to shoot your photos and also to edit them afterwards. So that's the next thing I would have done. If I was starting an Etsy shop, I would definitely be editing my photos directly after taking them. In the beginning, I did not edit a single thing. I just took my product photos and uploaded them as is. So if I were starting an Etsy shop today, I would definitely learn even just some basic editing techniques to edit my photos afterwards, things like exposure, brightness, crop, white balance, all of those simple editing techniques that I could have done even as a beginner. They're not hard. I would have learned and dug deep into editing to make my photos appear professional. Speaking of photos, you know you have your first listing photo, which is your thumbnail photo. And I didn't realize until way into my Etsy shop journey that that first thumbnail is actually cropped way in. So I didn't realize this. And when I was taking my product photos, I would just take a bunch of different photos that I really had no rhyme or reason to or plan for, and I didn't take a specific photo for my thumbnail. And a lot of times my product photos would be too close in, so when I would upload them for the listing, the photo that ended up in that first thumbnail slot got super cropped in, and it would crop part of the product out of the photo. So if I were starting today, I would actually plan ahead when I was taking my product photos for a specific photo to be taken further back for that thumbnail image. It's great to have some up close shots too, but specifically for that product listing thumbnail, knowing it's going to be cropped way in, I would take product photos further back and plan for that specifically to be my thumbnail image, knowing that it would need space around the outside to be cropped in so that none of the product itself got cropped out of the image. Another thing that I would do for my photos is invest in some different backgrounds and surfaces and props to have staged and lifestyle photos as opposed to just a picture of the product itself. It's great to have those plain product images, but it's also great to show them in real life, to show them in a real situation and staged with other items to give more of a lifestyle feel, to use as aspirational photos to help the shopper imagine what it might be like in their own life. I didn't think this deeply into my product photos at all in the beginning, and I would if I was starting from scratch today. I would think a little bit more about the emotion of the shopper as they're looking through my product photos and what type of photos I could give them that would help evoke a little bit of that emotion and help them to see that it would be a perfect fit for their own life. A lot of this just comes down to planning your photos a little bit ahead of time, using different types of photos, and investing in some of those trendy backgrounds or props that might go along with your product. Something else that I would really recommend that you do and really dive into is influencer collaborations. Partnering and collaborating with influencers can really move the needle, especially when you're just trying to get some momentum and traction going in the beginning and you don't have much of your own audience built up. Partnering with an influencer means that you're tapping into an already built-in audience and trust that that audience has with that specific person as the influencer. So I'm not talking about a mega influencer. I'm not talking about someone with millions of followers. I'm talking about not a micro influencer, someone with probably less than 10,000 followers, but still a bit of an audience that follows them that can recommend you and recommend your shop on their account. This can look like a lot of different things. This can look like you providing them free product. This can look like you paying them a little bit if you have a budget. But a lot of times micro influencers will be happy to collaborate with brands if it aligns with the same niche. So you want to find an influencer with an audience that is similar to what your target customer is going to be, so that you know your product is going to be appealing to those people in their audience. This is something I absolutely had no clue about when I first started. I think it was on the rise, but it wasn't quite as well known as it is today. Today, this is a very standard thing for businesses to do, is to collaborate and partner with influencers who have a bit of a following to feature them and their products on their account. This is definitely not anything you need to be intimidated by. It's totally normal and can really benefit you in the beginning if you reach out to influencers in your niche and pitch some ideas for collaborations or partnerships with them. And going along with the promoting side of things, the other thing I would have done much earlier in my journey, and I would definitely do from day one if I were starting again from scratch, is build an email list. I love email because number one, you own your own email list, so you're not dependent on an algorithm like you are on a social media account. On social media, your account could be suspended or taken away from you at any time. The algorithm is constantly changing, so you never know who you're showing up to, what of your content is actually getting in front of your ideal customers. But with an email list, these are people that have opted in and said that they're interested in what you have to offer, and it's not dependent on a fickle algorithm. So you own your list. You can reach out to these people at any time. If you have a flash sale or a discount or a holiday promotion going up, you can always reach out through email. And email has actually been proven to have a higher ROI, or return on investment, as opposed to other forms of communication. So building an email list is definitely a top priority from day one if you are starting an Etsy shop. There are proven methods to do this from scratch, using a lead magnet or a freebie or an opt-in of some sort, and having people sign up for that on a landing page. There's a whole system that goes behind how to do this from scratch, and you can totally learn that and research it. There are lots of tutorials and information online about that, but that's something that I had no clue about from the beginning that I would definitely do earlier in my journey if I were starting over. And if you've made it this far in the video, we're here at my last point, which is actually probably the biggest light bulb moment that I've had in my whole Etsy journey, and the one thing that I realized at a certain point that started to turn and shift things for the better in my Etsy shop. And that is that I started to shift my focus from one-of-a-kind listings to listings and products that I could scale by repeating them over and over again. Now, is it wrong to offer one-of-a-kind listings and products? No, absolutely not. That's totally fine if that's what you want to do. But if you're looking to grow on a larger scale and be able to sort of automate and come up with systems that will allow you to manage a larger shop with more sales coming in, focus on listings and products that you can easily replicate over and over again. The main reason for this is that the Etsy algorithm works hugely on sales volume. You know this if you've been around my channel at all. So very simply put, the Etsy algorithm will start ranking your listings higher and higher in the search results if that one specific listing has a lot of sales stacking on it. That helps improve your listing quality score for that listing and tells the algorithm that it's converting on a regular, consistent basis, which makes it more relevant to be shown to shoppers higher in the search. The more you can stack sales on one listing, the more that listing will rank higher and be organically found more and naturally convert more into sales. When I stopped offering completely one-of-a-kind unique listings and started offering listings that I was focusing on stacking sales and using the same listing over and over again, that's when I started to have bestsellers in my shop and really see some serious revenue coming in. So like I said, neither is right or wrong, but if I were starting over today on Etsy, that's something that I would definitely focus on from the beginning, is using the same listings of items that I can replicate and selling the same designs over and over again, as opposed to one-of-a-kind items. I hope this was helpful and valuable for you, friends. If it was, would you give the video a like and subscribe to the channel down below? And don't forget to click the link in the description below to sign up to watch the 5-Pillar Etsy Success Formula Masterclass. It's jam-packed full of actionable Etsy strategy that I know is going to be such a help to you. And I will see you next time, friends. Bye.